So maybe you just watched my previous video about the FCS mods, the Field Creator Studio mods being full release and now being available in their completed form, or you just stumbled across this video because you're wanting to learn about the FCS mods. In this video, I'm actually going to walk you through the basics of automation. You can automate a lot of things with the new Field Creator Studio mods, and while that's way too much to cover in one video, I am going to go through a very practical and likely to be used example to show you how to do some of the automation elements of these mods. Now, the first thing you're going to have to do for the FCS mods is go to the marked Altera Hub facility and repair it. Do all the repairs, and once that's done, then you can get access to the PDA, which will make you go in and create a card, and I've already done that. So what I'm going to do now is start making money. That's probably the first thing you want to do, and for that you are going to need the ore consumer. So the ore consumer is going to take the ores you put in and process them to pay you money. So for this, I'm going to add in some gold. Gold is not the highest earning material, but it is the material I currently have. So I'm just go ahead and put 4 in there. And so 45 seconds to process a piece of ore. I've got 3 left, total containing amount of 10 being the limit. And yeah, you see it's working. You see it's pumping away. You see the shake from it moving, but it's not enough to just have that. You are also going to need the transport drone terminal, because when you do buy stuff, you need a place for the drone to land, and that's what this is for. So I have processed a couple of pieces of gold. You can see I have 31,500 credits, dollars, whatever you want to call it, ready to go. Now, if I wanted to order something, I do have a place for the drone, but I need one more thing, the Altera Hub depot, which is where you're going to receive the items, basically how you collect things that the drone brings. So once that is done, now I can go in and start buying something. And for this example, and just because I think personally is probably the best thing to start with, I'm going to get the Deep Driller Heavy Duty version. So I have my Deep Driller. It has its own power, so you don't have to worry about that as long as you have solar or thermal available. And I'm going to go ahead and add 1 piece of lubricant, specifically for right now, just the 1. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to set it to filter for just the gold. I only want gold to be collected, nothing else. 12 gold ore per day, and that means I'm going to get 12 gold a day I can put into that. So that is the very minimal automation right there, in that you now don't have to collect anything yourself in terms of gold or whatever. But that's not really the automation everybody's wanting to do and that you can do. So let's go to the next part, which we're going to need a couple more items for. So now that I have the Deep Driller, I need to go into the storage solutions, and we're going to need a few specific things. We're going to need the terminal C48, the big one for the automation aspect of it, to be able to control everything. We're going to need a server rack. I'm going with the floor version because I know at one point the wall-mounted one would not work for the controls with the for the automation part of it. So I'm just going to stick with the floor size rack. We're also going to need a data disk, at least. We'll do 2. And we're going to need the transceiver. The transceiver is critical because that is what's going to allow for the pushing and pulling of items. So now I have all the items. I've made my floor server rack. I'm going to go here. I'm going to put in the transceiver and the data disk. Again, the transceiver is to send and receive items. It is required for the automation stuff, and it is only needed 1 per base. Then you have 2 data disks, and this is the new storage setup. The next part we need is the terminal. We're going to put it over here, and this is where we're going to be able to see all the items we have in the base, but also control the automations. And you want to pay attention to the randomly assigned base ID. This one is BS141. So I'm going to go ahead and deposit a bunch of gold into the system, and this is going to take right there. There's the gold. And so what I want to do first is to automate this going to the ore consumer. So I'm going to go here to the global network. I'm going to choose base 141. I'm going to click on the, settings icon, and you see we have our ore consumer here. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose an item to transfer to this device. And what we're going to do is the gold, because that's what I have going. Now you can go up to 10 at a time. And basically this just means how many items it's going to keep in that inventory. Now you can do, say, keep it completely full, I prefer to do just 1 or 2. That way it's kind of not going to drain too much out of your inventory. And as it used to be, you could not take the items back out from the ore consumer if you wanted to move it. Now I believe you can, but I'm going to stick to just 2 on this. And then I will make sure I leave some gold for my own crafting should I need it. So let's say I will leave 4. So if there's more than 4 items, it will send gold over to the ore consumer. And the last thing is to make sure it's enabled and confirmed. So now the ore consumer has sent 2 over, or is sent to the ore consumer that were not in it before. So we're going to let that go. And basically now all I have to do is put items in this case gold, and I have created the most basic automation. Again, go up here, click here, and choose the ore consumer, and then just set it up to send gold or whatever item you want over to it. And now that's great, but I still have to manually come here and get stuff from the deep driller. I still have to come and take stuff out, which is fine. You know, I just come over here, grab the gold out, add my freshly collected gold that I didn't actually have to go and get. And there, 23 gold waiting to go over to the ore consumer. So we have a way to automatically dump items into the ore consumer to produce money for us, but we still need a way to get items out into our storage and then to the ore consumer so we don't have to deal with that part. So that's what we're going to work on, connecting this deep driller to the base. Now we'll go into the settings and go to the programming page like I did there, hit the programming templates and connect to base. Now this is where that base ID comes into play. You want to make sure you clear base ID and the curly braces out, hit BS, and then put your number, and mine was 141, and that's going to connect it to my base. Now, one thing I want to clarify, because I have had people comment about this saying I was missing something and doing something unnecessary. Connecting to the base only connects for the item transferring automation to the deep driller. It does not pull automatically from the deep driller. So I still have gold being put into the internal inventory of the deep driller. And the gold in the deep driller does not count as part of what's on the base storage network. It's just not connected to it. There is a different step we have to take in order to connect the deep driller into the storage network. But first, let me show you what the connect to base actually is for. So you'll go here to the global network, go to your base settings, and now we go to the deep driller because it's connected. And this is so we can send lubricant over to the deep driller, basically making sure we never run out of lubricant and it shuts down. That is the entire purpose of having that automation. So we've got it set up to pull 1 at a time, only if I have more than 2, and turn it on. And basically that means I've got 2 here, and if I go and get another piece of lubricant and it gets low enough, it will automatically dump that lubricant over and keep this going without that being an issue. So to operate where you pull items from the deep driller and use them in automation, you're going to need one more component, and that is the remote storage unit. This is an older item from these mods and accommodates for being able to add more storage in a site where you don't want a lot of stuff, or you don't want a full base, or for the fact that it will accommodate for holding multiple types of items. And the way these work is, as you saw, even if I did this with the transceiver, I could choose one item. I could choose an item, single item, not multiple different items. So if you're collecting a lot of different ones from the deep driller, it doesn't make sense to have only one item being pulled. So the remote storage unit is going to provide us for that. Go to miscellaneous tab, put the remote storage unit down, and if you keep it fairly close, you'll be okay. But what you're doing is you're going to go to settings, not beacon. You're going to go into the Altera storage connection settings and toggle on the range viewfinder. You see this nice little ring goes out. As long as it's in that ring, it will connect. And basically just then you toggle to use remote storage. It says there's a remote storage in range, and it will start dumping supplies over to the remote storage unit. So let's recap real quick. The deep driller is set to only pull gold. It is dumping into this remote storage, which ties it in to the base storage itself. Now at the base terminal, we go to the global network, we go to the settings for our base, and we've gone into the transceiver settings to send it to the ore consumer. So we have gold, a total amount of 2 in the ore consumer, and only if we have more than, well, I said 4, I thought, but apparently that's gone now. And make sure it's enabled. And then the transceiver settings for the deep drill itself is to send at least 1 lubricant, as long as we have at least 4 lubricant, so it's not going to do that right now. And just again confirm. So that's the basic settings right there. So I have my ore production, I have a way to transfer it automatically to the ore consumer to make money, and I am generating more money. But let's take this one more step further, because I know people are going to be like, but what about the lubricant? I don't want to have to worry about making the lubricant. So for this, we're going to need 3 more items. We're going to need the matter analyzer, which you will use to detail the scans, as it says here, of seeds and non-living material for duplication in either the hydroponic harvester or the replicator. And for this case, we're also going to want the hydroponic harvester in order to grow our seeds. But that just gets us to the point of automating the production of the creepvine seed clusters. We also want the auto crafter, so we don't have to actually make the lubricant ourselves. So under miscellaneous, we're going to start with the matter analyzer. You know what? I'll go put it right there, right by the door. And we're going to go here, and I'm going to add a creepvine seed cluster to it. And it is going to take a bit of time to analyze, 5 minutes of time. But during that time, we're going to go ahead and get everything else set up. So we're going to do the hydroponic harvester. And this is where we are going to set up our seeds to grow. And then again, the auto crafter to automatically manage production of lubricant. So there we go. The matter analyzer finished. Updated the database. We're going to go here, sample selector page. Choose the hydroponic harvester or the creepvine seed clusters. And you can see it's got this Wi-Fi icon, which is power level. So base is 10. We're going to kick it up a notch. It's going to produce 1 seed cluster every minute. Now, it's not showing the seed clusters visibly yet, but we do have a seed cluster that has been produced. So we'll go to Auto Crafter, hit F to interact with it. Now, you can do multiple Auto Crafters. They're supposed to be able to combine together. So if you send the order to one, it can go to other ones. I'm not getting into that in this video. This is just for the general basic guide. So we're going to go and choose lubricant, which says, of course, we need creepvine seed clusters. Now, you can craft a certain amount. I am going to use, in this case, the recursive operation, which means it will make an unlimited amount of lubricant as long as it has the resources necessary, which is the creepvine seed clusters. Now, you could do this without having to go and get the matter analyzer and the hydroponic harvester. You could do this just by grabbing seed clusters from out in the wild and placing them there. You could place a grow bed outside and produce seed clusters that way and just dump them in and have it ready to go when you add them in there. But for the full automation effect of it, we need the hydroponic harvester so that it is producing the seed clusters for us. That counts as part of the available storage of the base. Even though it's not storing in the data disk, it is available as part of the base storage. And you saw right there, it generated one and already pulled it out and made lubricant. And that lubricant is going right in here, which in turn, when the deep driller needs another piece of lubricant, it is going to add it. As you see, it has already added some more lubricant. And if you have enough power, just go in here once this is all set up, and you're actually going to change the ores per day to something higher. So you can go in here and again, take out not just amount, but the curly braces around it too. Let's say we're going to do 50 ores per day. So now that's going to use more lubricant and of course more power, but I went and got the solar cluster, so I'm good on power, and that's going to make me produce a lot more gold, which in turn is going to go into my ore consumer, producing me a lot more money, meaning I could go out and get another ore consumer and just keep building and make a very high earning base out of this, and not with anything too crazy in terms of automation. And again, this is just the basics, so go and play around with these once you get used to this. There's so much you could do with this in terms of how you automate things, but again, you need for everything to work, you're going to need the data storage. So at the least, the server rack and the transceiver and some data storage disk, plus the C48 terminal here in order to go in to the global network, go to your settings for your base, and interact with the items that are connected. And so that's it. If you have any questions, post them in the comment. If I cannot help you, somebody else can help you. But really, it's not that complicated once you get past the basics. And that's what I've shown you here. How to automatically produce your gold, get it into your base, automatically send it to the ore consumer, automatically send lubricant to your deep driller to keep it running, and automatically produce the lubricant so you don't have to deal with that, and you technically can walk away from a base setup like this as long as you make sure the power is set right, and it will earn money for you as long as it keeps going.